news channel, but he's also considered some political influence. If this was a Republican president and, Bill O'Reilly was considered a leader of white people, I mean, would that ever happen? No. But somehow I think people are starting to see some of the insanity that is going on as the civil rights movement refuses to accept that they've won, and we don't have lynchings anymore, so you can now dissolve your company and go do something productive with society now. Thank you.
Well, I don't think it takes a Glenn Beck, drawing 27 lines on a chalkboard between all these squares and circles, which, by the way, I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't take him connecting all these dots for us to simply see this. You have a president who promised we'd save $2,500 on average per family, who promised if you like your plan, you can keep it.
If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
It's going to decrease our deficit.
Yeah. You have a president who blatantly lied. You have the architect of his plan privately admitting multiple times that they lied as a strategy. And then you have all of the left rallying around Ferguson, demanding that the truth of the case be swept aside. The coincidence? Oh, come on.
Well, and they keep saying they want justice, but
well, they don't.
They don't, because justice is actually what happened. The system of justice calls for a grand jury to investigate. They did, and they chose not to charge Darren Wilson. That actually is literally justice.
Yeah, well, anyway, to sum up, no, I'm not happy that they did what they did. But would I take advantage of it? Absolutely. I'm not happy that Obamacare has been put into place. But do I want to bleed them piece by piece by piece by piece, picking it apart, one by one, showing how this hurts people, the medical device tax, that hurts people, and so forth? Yes, I do. And, I think I'm the only one here who's a former leftist, Marxist, and all that. So I guess maybe this is a little bit of the ruthlessness of the left still in me. But
I'm from New Jersey, if that helps.
It does. I mean, I'm not happy that they do it. I'm never happy when people do terrible things, but I'm sure as heck going to take advantage of it to show that they're doing terrible things and expose that.
Well, and I have one in case in point that I just found now. The Democrat National Committee is selling I Hate Tea Party merchandise.
Nice.
Isn't that great?
What is this, 2009?
Thank you.
Remember at the 2012 DNC, National DNC Convention, to re-elect Barack Obama, they were circulating buttons that said, once you vote black, you never go back. These people are repulsive. Oh, yeah, they were. I saw the pictures of them all over. They're repulsive. They are repulsive. And I'm sorry, that's where I come from, and I just shake every time I see that stuff.
Well, I tend to think that, like in the case of the Scott Walker protests, when the union teachers were being so nasty, mean, and ugly, that the best counter to that is not our guys fighting back and yelling back at them, but our guys being calm and kind and nice and showing a complete contrast. Because what happens when somebody's sputtering anger at you and you refuse to be angry back, you're denying them the fight that they're spoiling for, and they end up just getting absolutely rabid. That's just what I think works, but I don't know if that works on a political level, or do we need to be more fighting back?
Oh, you're dead right, but we have to. The times when you have to fight back and do more than Mitt Romney in the first debate, not in the second and third, is when people aren't seeing what the left has done, and you have to take the steps to expose it. Now, in the case of the Wisconsin, look, Walker was going to lose. He was running he was going to lose the recall. He was done. When those pictures, and you should have seen some of the pictures of these ladies and these guys and these teachers, it was horrible. And when that came out, it all changed. So if they want to fall on their sword, I say let them. But if nobody's going to see them falling on their sword or see what they're doing, you had better be brave, strong, and bold, and you'd better find your inner Ted Cruz. And you'd better let that Ted Cruz out, because if we don't have straight shooters on the right willing to expose the left and do it hard, then we're in a lot of trouble. Who's that guy who's so great, who does all the questioning on Capitol Hill, that Republican congressman?
Oh, Trey Gowdy.
Trey Gowdy, yeah. You got to have a Trey Gowdy, and there's a little Trey Gowdy in every one of us, just like there's a little Paul Ryan handling the numbers.
Okay, so I'm thinking.
Quick caveat on the Trey Gowdy thing, and to the same effect, the Ted Cruz thing. When you are letting your little Trey Gowdy and your little Ted Cruz out, remember that Trey Gowdy and Ted Cruz are both highly trained lawyers.
Yes.
They are highly trained lawyers who know what they're doing before they say stuff.
Right. What works for Trey Gowdy and Kurt Schlichter and Ted Cruz does not work for you and me on Twitter, because we're just not that good. Yeah.
Think about it. Just think about that a little bit before going forward.
Good point. But I think what you're saying is when the other side is not beclowning themselves, then we have to fight back. Like, Mitt Romney needing to fight back in the debate because Obama wasn't sputtering with rage. But had Obama been sputtering with rage, then it would have been right for Mitt Romney to sit back and just let him show himself to be the rage sputterer that he was, although he's not.
Exactly. In fact, if he had piled on, it would look bad at that point.
Okay, so whether we fight back or stand by and be the nice guy kind of depends on what the other guy is doing, which makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Make sure they're closed. If they do it themselves, you don't have to help. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's tactics. Knowing what your enemy's doing and developing a plan around a particular move. That's exactly right.
Situational awareness. It's something that we talk about a lot, and it's something that you need to be aware of, because otherwise you're going to be saying the wrong things at the wrong time, and it's going to end up a mess.
Right. The right approach, given your audience, what people are aware of, what they're looking for, what's going to benefit them, those kinds of things.
What is going to make you and your team look good at any one time is not going to be the same thing that's going to make you and your team look good at another time. Mm-hmm. So the fact that somebody always comes out punching is probably not always a good strategy. Maybe that somebody always starts, from a calm and reasonable perspective. On some issues, that's going to get them accused of not having any feelings about it. So just taking the idea into one's hands, you can have a particular favored tactic that you use, but definitely being aware of whatever it is that is going to help you and your team look good and do your best at a particular time is what you use. You don't use a hammer when you're going to screw a screw in. You don't use a pliers when you're trying to pry something open.
I was really afraid you were going to go with a sports analogy on that one, and I'm so glad you didn't.
Sometimes you use a pliers to pry something open. Just stipulation.
I use a hammer for everything. Just so you know, even for writing. So I mean,
this is why the blog post takes so long. Okay.
Yeah.
The keyboard budget at that household has got to be extreme.
It's horrible. But really, I guess what we got to keep in mind is JD doesn't trust any of us to go forth and criticize people. Do you guys realize that this entire night, everything I've said, JD typed to me ahead of time, the whole time, and it's just I'm starting to feel I can't take it anymore, JD, and now I'm just out with it.
So JD is your Cyrano, is what you're saying? Gotcha.
Yes, I'm feeling programmed. I'm feeling boxed in.
Yeah, it's less a Cyrano thing, more of a Big Brother thing.
I think he really just wanted to give Cori a break for the night.
That's true. She had a headache earlier in the day. Hopefully, it's gone away. So.
And
And I think we've established that if JD wants pizza, he's not going to ask me to give him to come up with the pizza solution for him.
I'd sooner make the pizza myself.
Good. When should I be over? I like pizza.
It's a long drive to New Jersey.
Yeah, true.
Road trip.
True. That's north of Texas, so no thanks.
It's not only north of Texas, it's not Texas.
It's not Texas, exactly. It's not Texas.
He lives in not Texas.
Anyway, you guys, if I can just kind of end the Ferguson thing on a high note for us, it is going to work. Ferguson is going to be wonderful for our side. And I hate to say that. I hate the tragedy that's happened. I hate a lot of what they've done. I'm only talking about the protest element of it. Okay, just the protest element. It's going to be great. Okay, Missouri will have probably a Republican governor after this. People see that, and they get furious. They are furious with nationwide leftists looking away from the evidence. See, these discussions are happening at the office. These discussions are happening at church, in communities, where people bring up the case, and a leftist will constantly try to find ways to rationalize that maybe his hands were up, or somehow it's a conspiracy and we haven't really heard all the evidence and the autopsies are wrong and this kind of stuff. They're going to do that, and it really, really, really hurts their side. This is going to bleed them all over, politically, all over the country, because there are leftists all over the country rationalizing this.
Mm-hmm.
And it is terrible for them. It really is. It's Wisconsin nationwide.
Yeah, and people really don't like it when people clog up major arteries during Thanksgiving, when they're trying to get to airports, when they're trying to get places, leave their
Right.
towns, and have a bunch of hipsters in their, and their signs, and their protesting. People don't care what they're protesting over. They know that they're being blocked from where they want to go. So,
and then they find out the truth, and we're getting better at letting the truth come out and elevating the truth and echoing the truth and making sure that comes out, rather than being so radical and reactionary on our own part. I think we're doing a better job on the conservative side of letting the truth tell its own story and letting the public learn and see. I don't know if the public is listening to us more, or if we're telling better stories, but the Ferguson situation is redounding to our benefit because the truth is so stark, and the general public, the apolitical public, is, I think, hearing about it in a way that we're able to communicate and explain, and people are seeing that it is the liberals that are trying to capitalize on it for their own benefit, and they're making themselves look bad, and we're standing back and allowing it to happen, I guess.
Well, we see a tragedy, and for some sick reason, they actually see an opportunity in this. I don't know why.
That's so bizarre. That's so just evil or morally bankrupt.
I know, because here they see. You notice that I'm happy that they're imploding, but we're not doing anything. We're not actually going in and making it happen. Okay. Mm-mm. They actually send people in to try to make it happen and take advantage of this. I'm only sitting back and enjoying their implosion. Well, why wouldn't I? They do bad things to people. Yes, I want them to implode. Okay? I mean, but it's really crazy. We haven't done a thing.
That's true. That's true. And with that, I think we need to bring this episode to a close. Am I right, gang?
I think.
Right?
Before we do that, though, before we close, I just want to remind everyone, the video that you got to see at the top of the show, Ryan telling his Obamacare story, his insurance story. We are looking for more people who want to talk about their own situations, what they've done, what they've had to deal with when it comes to Obamacare and how it's affected them and how it's affected their lives and